And now, time for weekly show with a passionate India lover, chairman of ITV Gold and Parikh Worldwide Media. Get ready for loving sharing from physician, philanthropist, publisher, and India advocate in this week.
Welcome, and once again, it's that time of the day when we have the honor of welcoming Padma Shri recipient Dr. Sudhir Parikh in our weekly show. That is this week with Dr. Sudhir Parikh. But today we have a very, very special guest with us. That is Manish Gupta, who is the chairman and managing editor, PIO TV. So I would like to welcome Mr. Gupta to ITV Gold. And I want you to tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, thank you, Priya. I am by career and profession a journalist, a news journalist, and later I diversified into, the rest of media, which is movies, television programming, sports. And over the years, I helped create India's biggest television news agency, which is called ANI, which is a global brand today.
Absolutely.
And that's what brought me to the US in 1987. And then I pioneered many firsts in television, including pay-per-view movies, bringing cricket on pay-per-view for the first time to America, starting an international channel with the help of American cable giants like TCI, Viacom, Comcast, bringing Mahabharat to America on television. And then taking ESPN, MTV, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network and Sony, the giants of American television, to India to start their journey in India. Also helped Doordarshan diversify into Doordarshan's Metro channel, which is now DD News. But over the years, I think the big thing was after becoming a part of the Indian-American diaspora in America, I felt there was a need to connect the two countries more. So I've been a part of the diaspora movement, such as GoPO. And now the PIO Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And my background is physics, so I never left technology.
Right.
And I did the first live streaming in India of television channels way back in 2006. And I used technology also sort of as a harbinger of creating links between India and the rest of the developing world. So taking good Indian technology to Africa, Latin America, but using the Indian diaspora as an entry point.
Since you have been talking about this and you have worked globally, of course, India and here. So tell me, what's the difference? Like, how do you find it? Is it different here, how the media runs here, or it's the same? Or do you get like more, I would say, is it more work here than over back in India, or how does it work?
Well, truly the birth of free private television in India started happening in the 90s. And while there are 900 TV channels in India of all different languages of India and all kinds, including religious ones and others, Indian channels have followed their own trajectory.
Right.
And they're fighting for what is viewership, or they call TRP points in India. And in the race to go after the TRP points, I think they become very different from what we are used to seeing in the developed world. I spent the better part of my life here in the US and seeing the rest of the world evolve. So Indian media is very different. I'm talking only television now. Print is very evolved in India. I think it rates as one of the best in the world. But then it has had time of 100 years to evolve. And in terms of television, we still have those shows where, everybody from, and some people may not like my saying this, but, it's all right, that they still shout and scream and put debates in a direction where nobody gets anything out of it, except for talk.
Right.
Here in America, people work really hard on a story. They develop a story, they factually check it and correct it. And if it's wrong, they are made to pay for it, either professionally or otherwise. So it's a better evolved television media here, electronic media. And I think also they pay a lot of attention to other social issues. They pay a lot of importance to development issues, be any kind of development issues, which is totally lacking in India and other parts of the developing world.
But do you think like freedom of speech in India is, especially for the journalists, you are a journalist yourself too, is it like better there or is it better here?
Times have changed. I wouldn't like to comment on whether it's better here or not, but I could tell you that, as governments change, and as a media man, I can say that the world is becoming more conservative. We have a right-wing leader in India, we have a right-wing leader in America, we have a right-wing leader in Russia, we have a right-wing leader in China, or a communist leader. They're right-wing, they're extreme. And the world is moving towards conservatism. So I think there is sort of a divide or a gap between the media and the administration everywhere in the world. But I would hardly venture to say that Indian media is suppressed or oppressed or does not have the freedom of speech. The kind of stories that emanate from India in every form and fashion on electronic and print are of all varied kinds. They challenge the government. The government challenges them. So it's free.
Okay, all right. So, Dr. Parikh, would you want to say anything about this, about the freedom of speech for the, journalists?
Well, I mean, India came a very long way, and both in, of course, as Mr. Gupta says, that print media is really well developed, versed, and as well as most popular. Still in India, 1.4 billion people's population. They read the newspaper. Every morning they are waiting for the newspaper. Unlike here now, unlike in our Western world, people are forgetting to wait for newspaper, right? I mean, of course, there are some pockets of the area where people still love to read the real paper. And I think in India, TV also came very long way. And as he said that, TV has all freedom of choice, and it is a free media, but obviously, as you know, that media changes with the usually some influence always comes with the government of the day, and whether it's any government. So but Indian TV channel nowadays is very, very up to date. They have all the news, they have all the feeding resources from all over the world. And when you watch those channels, it's really good. And only thing I agree with Mr. Gupta that when you watch their political discussion, there it becomes little chaotic or little unorganized, and lot of shouting with each other, talking with each other on each other. There is no rule that only one person talk at a time, and that's in a way is fun. And actually, when I was in India a few years ago, I met this CNN 18 anchor person, Navika Kumar. So we were waiting in the Prime Minister's office, waiting to see Prime Minister. So I asked her, I didn't know much about her. So I said, how come I watch your channel and all the discussion, but why you let everybody talks in the same time, So he said, that's India. That was her answer. So anyway, I think she took it kind of very lightly, but I think she also knows that those kind of debate has to be a little more organized, more professional, just like here, so that it can come out some good messages out of that.
Absolutely. So let's start today with our current events. So my first question to you, both of you actually, is like, take two for President Trump, working on brokering a deal between Russia and Ukraine. So do you think like it's working this time?
The positive thing is that this was one of his manifested agenda item, that he will broker, peace wherever there's war going on, whether it's Israel-Palestine, Russia-Ukraine, or other conflict zone in the world, and in between came India-Pakistan. So I think it is sort of an initiative that President Trump takes it upon himself, and through himself then manifests it through the Vice President and the Secretary of State. But yes, if you ask me honestly, he has in many ways, began the talks that are leading towards brokering of peace or ceasefire or cessation of hostilities. How far it goes ultimately, as he said yesterday in his statements, I can't tell the two what to do. But at least have brought them together on the same platform to start talking, and then they'll have to make a deal. And remember, If you look back in history, there is no bigger business or otherwise deal maker than President Trump.
All right, Dr. Parikh.
I think, yes, all this Ukraine-Russia deal, negotiation, of course it's reality now because of the President Trump, because he's pushing it personally. And I think his philosophy is different. His philosophy is mainly business. So he wants to develop the very rare metal from the Ukraine soil and make it America benefit out of it, that business. Plus, in return, American troop will be there, since America will have some having those mines, rare substance mine there, so automatically, indirectly, it will support or it will help Ukraine in defense. And then Russia, once American troops will be there, Russia will not dare to again do what he did now. So I think it's a great thing, and I think it will happen, because at the end of the day, you cannot continue war forever, because is nobody's interest to have war forever. And I think in order to have no war and more business between all the countries, I think is always good and always preferable. So I think he will. I'm very optimistic that eventually he will succeed.
All right, and President Trump, he is like claiming that he is using trade in all aspects of geopolitics. So he is motivating Russia towards a trade deal in return for ceasefire. So tell me, is this new way of negotiating between two countries?
So, trade wars and tariffs go back in time. When I first came to America, I remember I used to write stories on Super and Special 301, the sanctions being clamped on India. It was a big story every day. Whatever I wrote, even if it was 2 paragraphs, would go on the front pages of newspapers. So trade wars and trade tariffs have always been a reality faced by countries. And if you take it back to the time of when we would do barter trade with each other, it was who gave more and who gave less, and how would you balance it?
Right.
And can you supplement it with something else? But before I get into this subject, I do want to emphasize the point as a journalist, and I think also because it sort of should not create social or political misunderstandings. What President Trump is doing, and hopefully doing out of the goodness of his heart, because he doesn't want hostilities and wars and killings, is not brokering peace. I think the brokerage word is misunderstood and sort of conjectured in a different manner by people. What I think they are pushing towards is enabling an environment where hostilities cease and some sort of talks start. Now, India is taking its own stand, for example, on what it can or cannot do with Pakistan. So, for example, India has clarified that, he was very nice, President Trump, and US did whatever they did, but, the ceasefire happened because of whatever reasons.
Right.
Similarly, in Ukraine and Russia. Now, to the point of trade, I think if you look back at the history of everything post-World War II, whether it was the earlier GATT or the later evolution into WTO, why is everybody clamoring towards to do free trade agreements with each other? NAFTA failed because you were trying to create a platform between Canada, US, and Mexico. Very diverse economies, no comparisons with each other, and it failed. You have to today go to bilateral trade treaties, and India is doing one with US, and India has just done one with UK, and UK fell out of Europe for different reasons, Brexit. So I think the world of tomorrow is going to be, yes, full of issues of trade, commerce, and economy, because that's what runs countries, changes governments. But in that, to that respect, we'll have to sort of work out where the deal can really be struck. If India wants more people coming here because, they can create more human dividend, then that's the deal maker. And if America wants to sell GE goods against the LGs and Samsungs of Korea in India, then that would be the deal maker.
Right. Dr. Parikh.
Yeah, I think I agree that only way whole world can go forward and upward and progress is economically and social life is to have good trade, fair trade, and and more business, because that's the only way to progress, and not the fighting or war or all those things. So I agree, and then I'm sure that even Trump will do the probably Gaza Israel thing too, and you will be surprised. And you can see that I like the President Trump's initiative that he even started talking to Syria. Syria was, that they are the current president of the Syria used to be ISIS member, and so he was a really certified terrorist in the past, and still President Trump went there and talked to him, and because he sees he wants to bring some gas pipeline through the Syria, and so Europe doesn't have to rely on the Russia. So that's really good thinking, good long-term thinking for Western countries, and I think I must congratulate President Trump for that.
If I may add, this is the first time that you've seen a US president put out a message on social media in block letters, capital letters, saying Russia has huge potential to become a very big economy, and we can do, not the exact words, but humongous trade between the two countries. When was the last time since the Cold War that US and Russia talked like that? I thought they were fighting wars in space,
Right.
So I think these are positive developments if they can stick to it.
Right.
And talking about Israel and Gaza, Israel begins extensive Gaza ground operation after intense airstrikes. So is Israel looking for full control of Gaza, or what is the end game?
I think what Israel wants, Gaza has to remain kind of Palestinian, part of the Palestinian territory or state, whatever you call it. Of course, all the defense and security should be in hand of Israel, because Israel has a lot of to lose, because they are so close to each other. I mean, they are part of the same land. So, but eventually, you cannot deny probably certain people's their fundamental rights. So I think what even Trump, President Trump is also talking about two-state solution to completely control that Israel-Palestine issues, which they were working right from many since President Carter time. Everybody tried, Obama tried, everyone tried, and they did some progress, but then again it fell apart. So I think they should keep pursuing that. They also, President Trump should also pursue, probably I would not be surprised that President Trump will pursue the real deal with China and USA, and that way make even Taiwan more safer. And so I would not be surprised about it. So I think what he's doing is, I think I agree, and I think I really really congratulate him for that.
I think, if you notice in the last 10, 15, 20 years, the one thing that has become the centerpiece of everybody's conversation, any bilateral or multilateral conversation and outcome of talks, the centerpiece is fight against global terrorism.
Right.
Okay, nobody likes terrorists.
No.
Even a communist state like China doesn't like terrorists. Russia doesn't like terrorists. There have been bombs that go out killing people in Russia. Of course, we don't like terrorism in America. I mean, we've seen the worst. And India doesn't like terrorism. Israel doesn't like terrorism. So I think a two-state solution, respect for each other, coexistence can only work if one state does not harbor, support, promote, and actually throw weight behind terrorism, particularly when they coexist with a common boundary. Now that's the grouse between Israel and Palestine, Hamas, ISIS. That's the whole crisis of the region, Syria, Jordan, you look at it everywhere. And that's the same reason why even the Arab world is today leaning towards people who say we don't want terrorism, because it's a matter of time when terrorism could come in there too.
Right.
Economies are plagued by terrorism. India, as it grows, is facing more terrorism. Have you heard of terrorism plaguing Pakistan? No, because it's a country that's going down. It has to borrow from IMF all the time. So terrorism has no place where economies are not doing well or countries are not progressive. But those that are progressive will have to face up and do things to wipe out terrorism. So in terms of India and Pakistan, Israel and Palestine, you asked about a two-state solution and whether one state would gobble up the other. I think for example, in India, Pakistan, people would be dreaming. Those people must be, on something else if they think that India will take over Pakistan.
Right.
Now, I'm not going into Pakistan-occupied Jammu Kashmir, that's a separate story. But I think as long as terrorism is taken care of, and we don't support terrorism into each other's countries, then the problems can be sorted out, as long as there is will to do that, iron will to do that.
So, since you're talking about like India and Pakistan, and Indian military actually disclosed that Pakistan was targeting Golden Temple to cause communal tension in India. So my question is for both of you, what's next after the ceasefire?
Well, I think our military did an excellent job by hitting all the terrorist targets, and they were actually on 10th of May. They were almost hit all the fields of the Pakistan, including even they were so close to the nuclear plant of the Pakistan. And everything was, if other couple of days was given to them, they would have taken over the Kashmir, Pakistan POK. That close we were. But obviously, we did a ceasefire because I think in long run probably it's a good move to do the economy and business and everything. And progress ourselves rather than killing innocent people on the both sides.
Mr. Gupta.
Somewhere along the line in the middle of this conflict, I heard a word emanating from one of the very senior Pakistani, either military or political leaders, saying everything is fair in love and war. Now, that's an old adage. It doesn't happen in the world of today. You cannot be fair about a nuclear war or strikes on nuclear facilities. But at the same time, I think India calibrated a very careful, orchestrated response to terrorism in India by getting rid of terrorism camps or terror camps, training camps in Pakistan, which they had already identified. Everybody has enough intel. And in this, they may have been supported by other friendly states also to gather this intel, because terrorists are common to the world.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, you see, it's unfair, and I think Pakistan may have in desperation, and a little bit of this is conjecture, Pakistan in desperation, when they saw that India would escalate this conflict only because Pakistan escalated it. Remember, they were saying 2 times they hit us, we never said anything, this is the 3rd time, we're not going to take it sitting back. Well, you're taking it sitting back because there's terror camps, So I think they responded in a miscalculated way by hurling drones and missiles without precision, without calibration. I'm not sure that Pakistan would ever admit that they had thrown a missile or even launched artillery fire at temple. I mean, Amritsar and some of these locations are not too far, Jaisalmer and other places. But it may well have been a misadventure which they realized was not going to work. Because India's air defenses were very strong. India was positioned in a manner, that's why they took their time of 2 weeks. Army, Navy, Air Force were willing to give a befitting response, and they actually annulled those attacks. Had it continued for another day or so, as Dr. Parikh was saying, this would have given India a free hand to then take out the military bases, because so far they didn't want to. It was not civilian, not military, only terror. But Pakistan has in the past, like after the ceasefire, why did we see continued firing in Jammu and Kashmir from the Pakistani side? Somebody said, ceasefire orders take time to percolate down to the last mile. I think this is the problem with Pakistan.
Right.
In India, it did not take time to percolate down to the last mile. So those misadventures and miscalculations can cost dearly.
Absolutely. And, India announced diverse delegations across political parties to visit countries for PR, against Pakistan. So I want to know from you, is this a good move?
I think so.
Okay.
See, what India is lacking and I would say this as a journalist, what India is lacking, we don't have Indian media or or a Indian media platform, even after 75 years, that can put out the true story, whatever it is, development, social, political, and in this case, why and what the war was, to the whole world. Everybody sitting in India puts out their own story in their own ways and different ways to the world. You'll hear very different things from the New York Times versus, the Boston Globe versus the Sunday Times of London, etc., etc. So that's one. Number two, in my recollection in the last 40 years in this profession, I have never seen this country of India so united across all political parties save one, the TMC in Bengal, where they were very clear and unequivocal on the very first day that this response was necessary. And I think the trick to do this is Prime Minister Modi and his government had already had dialogue with all the opposition parties, telling them that, look, we are calibrating a very precise response. We don't want war. We are not going there after Pakistan and military and civilian casualties. That's why everybody came together. I have never seen, especially completely divergent parties like Omar Abdullah, Farooq Abdullah, Mr. Owaisi in the south, coming out in open support of Operation Sindoor. So now it's time to tell the world why we did and what we did, despite whatever the world has already seen and heard. So I think it's a good PR exercise. India should do more of these.
Actually, it is a great exercise, because that's the only way you can set the narrative correctly. Because right now, as Mr. Gupta is saying, that our diplomatic narrative kind of not well organized for the world to consume. And that's why we see a lot of negative articles about us in Western media. And that can be dispelled, should be dispelled. And I think this kind of multi-party delegations is always very effective. It gives a very good impression and good vibes to the Western countries or foreign countries. And I think even what I heard yesterday, that even Pakistan is going to send similar delegation to other countries. So it means, I think this is a good move by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Bhai Modi, because I think we have to educate the people. I mean, people of the world. And because there is a lot of misinformation, misperception, and misnarratives, and that should be corrected.
If I may, Priya, I remember the time when in 1987, at the peak of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan and takeover of Afghanistan, Pakistan had hired a lobbyist in America those days for $1 million to lobby American government to get F-16s and AWACS and all kinds of Stinger missiles. Even though Americans were willing to give, they still wanted to lobby to get more money.
Right.
So a part of that goes in somewhere else. But anyway, and Indian Parliament would not listen to India wanting to hire a lobbyist just to tell the India story of, look, why are you arming this state against that state, because it could come to hurt South Asian peace and security. And that's what has happened. Look at Pakistan since 80s has become a haven for terrorism. And Taliban may have taken over Afghanistan, but is otherwise now keeping peace in the region. That's another story how they run Afghanistan, but they're keeping peace in the region. Now is the time for us to, even if it's a PR war, as Dr. Parikh said, between India and Pakistan sending their PR team, but it's very, very important that, perception creation in the world. Even if because it will help our trade, it will help us socially get along with people. You don't want to send out a message next time somebody sees me in a foreign country and they know I'm an Indian and they'll say, you wage war, you're a warmonger. I'm not a warmonger. I'm protecting myself. And if America can go in and send their helicopters to kill Osama bin Laden in Abbottabad, I mean, what's wrong with us throwing missiles at terror camps?
Since you were talking about the opposition parties, let's talk about, Rahul Gandhi and his team. They are just attacking Foreign Minister Mr. J Shankar and, asking him details on how many Indian aircrafts were lost. So Tell me, like, my question is, why is he kind of scoring these self goals where, like, when he should be with the whole country, like, standing united behind, Indian forces and Indian government?
बोलिए.
Look, as a journalist, it's very difficult to dissect and sort of read the minds of politicians. They say something today, they change tomorrow. When people are in the opposition, they just find every opportunity to get at the government, whoever is the government in power. And these are very sensitive issues, when there is a conflict between age-old rivals like India and Pakistan, which were divided not too long ago along religious lines, and it could spark off communal riots, in especially India. And Pakistan is going through its own civil strife. They don't have regular government. Military rules it in many ways. So, I think it might be pushing the wrong buttons on behalf of the opposition party to say, tell me now in public, whether 2 died or 1.5 died, and who came with broken limbs, and who's been captured, and how many MiGs were down or Rafales were down. There were all kinds of stories going around, Indian missiles were down or 2 Pakistani missiles fell into our territory. Listen, when you're in a conflict situation, conflicts happen. There is going to be loss. And I am very clear, I heard the Indian military spokespersons, those 2 ladies, the colonel and wing commander, as well as later the DGs of military operation talk about, yes, we had loss of life on both sides. Their side was very big and significant. Ours was not as big. But to expect the military in 2 weeks' time to start giving you every minute detail, it won't happen even if they ask it.
Go ahead, Dr. Parikh.
Well, I think Mr. Gupta is right that this is, even though there is a ceasefire, it's still we are in the war atmosphere, or what we call is war situation. So everybody, all the opposition leaders should speak in the one word, support the government of Prime Minister Modi, and do not create any controversy, because all these things can be shortened out after a few weeks, not now. And it will come, everything will come out automatically anyway, because of we have such a great press in India. So I think that way what Rahul Gandhi has started asking, it's not correct, and it's not welcome.
All right. So, but do you, both of you, think that mutual, talks are possible when, India wants to talk about terrorists and Pakistan wants to talk about Kashmir?
Listen, I think particularly after this conflict, now I know that India and Pakistan have fought full-scale wars. There have been 2 strikes by India into Pakistan because of terrorism in India. But this time, after the strikes, when it escalated into Pakistan trying to save its face by, throwing some ammunition at India and then getting, pretty beaten up, I think they have realized one thing, that India put its word out, told the world it was going in to do something that the world agrees on. Having suffered the indignation of the world and not getting support but from a couple of countries, they have no choice but to come to terms with the fact that these agreements and settlements would have to be bilateral. Now, how those take shape, people blame Mrs. Gandhi for having struck the India-Simla Accords of 1972, having pulled out of Pakistan when we had gone so far deep in. Had we kept that, we could have probably taken POJK back. There's all kinds of theories and postulations, but I think smart move is stop trade, create an economic hardship, let people of that country realize that, look, unless things resume back to normal, we don't have a problem with anybody, but, it can't go on like this, that we suffer terrorism. People are, hounded and killed by the name of religion. I mean, that's the worst we've ever seen. So, Pakistan will have no choice, and I think the mistake they've made is, in the middle of all this, they said, oh, we are annulling the 1972 Simla Accords. So India just said it's putting the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance, not cancelling it. But the Pakistanis said, we are cancelling the 1972 Simla Accords. Now, you don't do stupid things like that. I mean, I'm saying this as a journalist. I'm sorry if somebody feels bad about it. But all the more a reason why now everybody is going to push them into a corner. And I don't think if the UNSC even says anything will matter anymore. Because India is pretty tough this time on it better be right.
So answer to your question is that Kashmir issue is, as Prime Minister Modi says, it's a integral, Kashmir is an integral part of the India. And it's now almost going to have statehood even. So there is no negotiation on the Kashmir issue. Only negotiation will be Pak occupied Kashmir. And that's what our government is very clear. And so the thing which is integral part of the our country should not be internationalized, because that's what Pakistan's probably goal is, to internationalize the whole thing again, what it was before. So I think our stand is very good. There is no negotiation on Kashmir, because Kashmir is an integral part of the India. Already we have election there, and election given good verdict and everything. And so there is no negotiation of that part. Only negotiation is a part of the POK. And that's end the story.
All right, so now let's move on to this fun round. And I want to tell you, Mr. Gupta, what we do is we do a rapid fire round where you just say yes or no. So that's my first question. It's from Sridhar from Connecticut. He wants to know, somehow he knows that you like cricket. And tell me, what do you say about Virat Kohli's sudden announcement to retire from Test cricket? Early or good to leave at peak popularity? Yes or no?
I think always a good cricketer always lives at the peak of their popularity. And yes, I mean, what Virat Kohli said, it's very good.
Yes, Mr. Gupta.
I think a smart move.
All right. Sam from New Jersey is saying Trump government plans to accept luxury jet following reports of multi-million-dollar gift from Qatar. New normal or creates questions on ethics and foreign influence? Yes or no?
No, I think.
Doubtful. Yes or no?
Okay, so for you it's doubtful. All right. Sachin from Chicago is asking, will boycott Turkey momentum continue in India? Yes or no?
Probably not too long.
Okay. Mr. Gupta?
For now, yes.
Okay. Neeta from DC is asking, medicines don't fix the root cause of a disease. They only mask the symptoms. Is it better to watch your lifestyle than popping the pills? Yes or no?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think medicine does get to the root of the disease nowadays. So, of course, watch lifestyle is a whole different, in general,
Yes or no?
it is always a good idea. Yes, but medicine, you have to rely on medicine. So, answer is no.
Okay. All right, Mr. Gupta.
So, yes to medicine because it gets to the root cause, and yes to lifestyle. So, if you can blend the two, nothing like it.
Wonderful. So before, you both should give out this week's message. I would say, I'm sure whatever you want to say to people, and similarly, you know what to say. I want to remind everybody that you can always follow Dr. Parikh on Facebook. It is Dr. Parikh, or you can also follow him on Twitter. The handle is SUDPARIKH. Please go ahead.
Dear friends, as we know that so many things are going around the world, I think a good thing that we have a ceasefire in India, all the good wisdom prevail there, because India is progressing leaps and bounds, and India, we should only concentrate on, of course, and all the businesses, trade, and so forth. And of course, we should also make sure that we should fight against the terrorism, which was root cause of the conflict between India and Pakistan. So I give kudos to our Prime Minister Modi for his firm and strong fight against the terrorism. So we'll see you next week. Till then, goodbye.
Mr. Gupta, any last messages you want to give out to our viewers?
I think we have entered a new world order. Let's see how it pans out. But if trade takes over and conflicts go down, I think we're definitely looking forward to a better world, and no better message than this coming at the time of graduation in this country. And I'm very proud to say my son just graduated 2 days ago from
Oh,
Tufts in
congratulations.
Boston. Yes. And I'm so happy to see that things are giving way to peace, because, you know, when you worry about children, the first thing that comes to you is, oh my God, I hope the world survives and nothing wrong happens. So I think there is light at the end of the tunnel.
And I would like to definitely thank you and being a guest on our show today. And it was really wonderful to have
Thank
you
you.
over.
Pleasure.
When
Thank
we
you.
all as a chairman of the ITV Gold and Parikh Worldwide Media, I really thank you, Mr. Manish Gupta. Really, it was a great pleasure, our privilege and our honor that you are here in our live studio.
Lovely.
And gave your thoughts and your wisdom to our viewers. So really, thank you very much, and please come again soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.